Now we're quickly going to our next speaker, and also a short reminder because we already got quite some cool questions. If you have any questions, please leave them on the right side of this screen in the chat function. But we're quickly going to our next speaker. Also really looking forward to this conversation with Daniel Wingen from Galoy. Daniel, a very good day to you.
Hello.
Hello.
Nice to meet you again.
Likewise. It's a great pleasure having you with us today. Where are you calling from?
I'm calling from Munich, Germany.
Munich, yeah. I thought like maybe you're still in El Salvador working there, but you're just close by in Germany.
Yeah, I just arrived yesterday, still living in the El Salvadorian time zone. So, yeah, getting awake right now.
Getting awake. Well, that's usually the best start for a conversation like this. So
exactly.
Yeah, many thanks for joining. And yeah, one of the things that we, when we started preparing this session, was thinking about the topics that we really would like to discuss. And one of them is, of course, the adoption of the technology, of the blockchain technology in a broader sense, also when it comes to cryptos, etc. Your organization, Galoy, has been instrumental in the adoption when it comes to countries like El Salvador. Is that correct?
Yeah, I think this whole idea started through Bitcoin Beach, which is a small initiative in a small town called El Zonte in El Salvador, and the idea was to build a circular economy, circular Bitcoin economy over there. It worked quite well, specifically with the help of technology, which was built by Galoy. And then the president of El Salvador got interested in the project and discovered, okay, Bitcoin could be something which could help the country if we implement some laws here, which are beneficial for Bitcoin. And yeah, this is what happened, actually.
So laws were implemented, and then you, with Galoy, worked on the infrastructure, right? On the wallets and that kind of necessary things to actually give the people of El Salvador the possibility to pay with Bitcoin.
Yeah, actually, so there are many companies providing infrastructure to this country in different kinds of forms. It's mainly payment infrastructure, meaning Lightning Network payment infrastructure, consisting of POS systems, ATMs, but also all kind of e-commerce software and wallet solutions for the people over there. The country implemented their own wallet. It's called Chivo Wallet, which means something like cool wallet in English. So the government tries to be cool over there, but it's from the people. It's kind of they adopted it, but not in a way that they seems to be like super interested into Chivo Wallet. So they also look at different kind of wallets, and one wallet is called Bitcoin Beach Wallet, and Bitcoin Beach Wallet is this yeah, you could say kind of Bitcoin bank built for El Zonte to enable a circular economy over there. And currently Bitcoin Beach Wallet is also being more and more broadly used in El Salvador in all kinds of areas, not only at the Bitcoin Beach.
Not only on the beach, yeah. But it's also interesting to hear from your side that it's not just this Bitcoin wallet where a lot has been written on. You know, it's also the e-commerce platforms, it's the ATMs, etc., that are being used for this. And I think that's also interesting to have you with us today, because we usually only read some stories in the media that it's one big failure. But when I read your posts, when I read, you know, your updates and all the content that Galoy is distributing, it is actually mentioning, like, you know, actually this is quite a success story, right? This project. And of course there are some things that, you know, go not as planned, but still, I mean, you see it as a success story, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a success story for El Salvador in general. It increases the awareness of the country. I mean, it's in the news everywhere. Everybody now knows about El Salvador. Before Bitcoin adoption, I couldn't even tell where El Salvador is if you would have asked me. So it's very, very, I think, beneficial for El Salvador in general. It drives a lot of good things over there. It increases the economy, specifically by tourism, but also by the tech sector, because there are more and more tech companies being founded, more and more Bitcoin companies specifically being founded over there, which is good to see. Of course, it still lacks a capital market, but there are also a lot of people trying to build up a capital market over there to finance all of these companies, which is really interesting to see. So in general, I would say yes, it brought some Very, very interesting benefits to the country, but the population there is not really aware of how Bitcoin works and what the individual benefit is. So I would say, to summarize it, it lacks a lot of education over there. But what's interesting, if you ask people there about any other cryptocurrency, they haven't heard of anything. They only know Bitcoin over there, which is a great thing to see, because they are not distracted by all of this kind of altcoin experiments, but really focused on establishing a new currency over there.
Okay, so Bitcoin only, I can see from your end. Now, it's an interesting point you make that, it actually, the technology is there, but like, implementation-wise, there are still a lot of things, that can be won. Like they really need to work on education. Yes. Are there now like education programs? How are people now being educated about using Bitcoin, about using this technology?
So currently they are not educated at all, or getting not educated at all. So Chivo is really built to be super easy to use, and it typically converts a lot of transactions in Bitcoin in dollars, which is the second local currency there, or the main local currency, which is also the denominator, is the US dollar. So a lot of conversion happens within these wallets to make it super easy for people to use it and to make the user experience more like a bank account. Also, if you look at Bitcoin Beach Wallet, for example, it feels more like a bank account, and is kind of a bank account, which allows you to hold USD and BTC as the accounts you can have there. And so people currently still switch between Bitcoin and US dollar on bank accounts. So they are not really educated about holding their own keys, controlling their own keys. So they rely heavily on banks. I think this is one thing which needs to change. And the other thing is, of course, paying over Lightning with US dollar or with Bitcoin is an interesting thing to see. So you can seamlessly switch between both. So one sender could send Satoshi, and the other, the recipient automatically converts into USD, or the recipient wants to receive BTC, but the sender only has USD. So it's seamlessly integrated in there and can work perfectly together. But it's still that people over there don't see, or most people over there don't see the value of saving Bitcoin. And it's interesting that there are some development happening. So I was waiting at an ATM over there and looking what's happening, and actually several policemen showed up and were inserting their dollars to receive Bitcoins. And we asked them, and they said, like, yeah, it's our savings account, and every month we come here and put some dollars into the ATM, and then we get some BTC on our savings account, and first on our Chivo wallet, and then they once every half a year approximately they send it to their cold storage. So they had already some education in how to store Bitcoins for themselves. But in general, there's still a lot of work to do, and currently there are two private initiatives, non-profit initiatives, promoting or doing Bitcoin education in the schools and high schools over there.
Okay, and besides education, are there any other barriers for the broader adoption?
I think it's mainly a question of how good the technology can be implemented into existing processes and systems. So there are some good tools and good ideas. So, for example, McDonald's implemented the payment process really seamlessly. So you get an QR code on their screen, and you can pay with any wallet. So they are very well connected. But they of course are not their own master of their keys. So they use a service provider called OpenNote to integrate with them and leverage the potential of the Lightning Network in terms of payments, which is quite interesting to see, because they, of course, convert it back to dollars. So I think it's a question of how large can these systems scale. Currently, we see it on a level of maybe 10 to 20 transactions per day for each of these stores. But in the future, can it scale to hundreds of millions of transactions per hour in this country? And I think the tools are being developed right now, and there's a lot of testing happening, and we see the results. It seems it's very, very promising, but we don't know yet how fast it can scale and how large it can scale with all these transactions happening, because it's not only like how we used to transact in the fiat world or in the MasterCard, Visa world, but it's really about payment streaming, increasing the amount of payments smaller, meaning also increasing the value of the overall amount of transactions to a much larger scale. And this is something where I don't know yet how it pans out, but I think we're on a good track, but still a lot of work is to do here.
Now, you've been mentioning scaling quite a lot, scaling, of course, within El Salvador, but can we also think about scaling on a more global scale? I'm really curious to learn from your side, like, are you already working with other countries implementing such a Bitcoin system for their payments? Also, if they are, I can also see that some countries maybe are a little secret, so you cannot name them, but are you already working with other countries on implementing a Bitcoin payment system?
So in terms of countries, there is no specific country we are working with in terms of implementing infrastructure. I think there also El Salvador is a special case because they make the payment infrastructure a government issue. A government topic, which can be seen as good, but also as negative. Like, I mean, Bitcoin is a bottom-up movement, not a top-down movement. So typically, we are mainly talking to private organizations who want to establish Lightning Bitcoin startups and need an infrastructure for that. Or banks which want to tap into the Lightning Network, want to use the global instant settlement network, which is growing and growing and growing over time, and want to use it also for themselves and with their peers.
Banks using the Lightning Network, and these are traditional banks?
Yes, there are a lot of traditional banks we're talking to, but also fintechs. I mean, there are a lot of fintechs which offer cryptocurrencies anyway, but didn't access the Lightning Network yet. And more of these companies see the value of having instant transactions with instant settlement on a network which is globally scalable up to 100 millions of transactions per second. This is something we never had before on this planet. So more and more organizations are tapping into this network, yes.
Wow, that's interesting to hear, actually. I was not aware of that. Like, I think also most people here listening today were just thinking, there are these early adopters, there are the tech enthusiasts, but actually that banks and other organizations are now also starting to use things like the Lightning Network. That's for me quite
I mean, look at Cash App in the US. It's a subsidiary of Square, like the payment provider, mainly used for credit card payments. But the Cash App now, it has 400 million users in the US, and these 400 million users have access to the Lightning Network now and can instantly send and receive payments through the Lightning Network and are interoperable with any other Lightning wallet. I mean, it's a standard which is growing globally in different kind of ways, in self-custody way and custodied ways, but like all of these organizations, institutions, and individuals are completely interoperable with each other.
Wow. Now, speaking of the Lightning Network, for the upcoming year, what is next? Do you have any cool developments when it comes to Lightning Network, besides, of course, all these new organizations that are also tapping into the technology?
So specifically for the Lightning Network, there are quite some interesting developments. I think one of the most interesting also for the interoperability with the US dollar is Taro and RGB, which are both tools, third layer tools to build coins or to build tokens on top of the Lightning Network and send it to each other. So this would allow a stable coin being issued on the Lightning Network and also being transacted on a Lightning Network, which is something a lot of people are looking forward to. And then, of course, on the infrastructure level, we're looking forward to Bold 12, which is the payment standard. So currently the standard is Bold 11. And the next level will be Bold 12, which brings a lot of improvement to the invoices and how the format is structured. I think this is also something a lot of people are looking forward to. Yeah, and then of course there's a lot of work to be done on scaling and routing of the payments. It's still not perfect, and approximately 99.9% of the transactions go through, but there's still a small failure rate, and this needs to be solved and can be solved through a more advanced liquidity management.
And for the upcoming year, what is next for Galoy? What is next for you as an organization?
Yeah, so we as Galoy, we are thinking about how can we help our customers and our potential customers to grow and scale in the Lightning Network, and what tools do they need. So we are currently on improving our stack and overall make it more scalable, make it more modular, to make it easier for people to install it. I mean, it's completely open source, but it's cloud native, a very heavy software, and you need to have a lot of engineers in order to get it running and keep it running. So we want to make it easier for people to use such a stack. And also stable sets is something we are expanding on. So stable sets, it's basically a USD derivative. Is issued by the bank or by the owner of our stack, so the person who's running our stack and is basically a bank. He can issue a stable USD derivative, which is backed by Bitcoin. And there's a lot of interest in this product, actually also as a standalone product, integrated into other systems and any other wallet. So this is something we are working on to make it easy to use also these kind of solutions.
Yeah, because I read you're working on a Bitcoin-backed synthetic US dollar.
Correct. Yeah, this is stable sets. Yeah, you can imagine it like a bank holding only euro. Here in euro, like a classical bank only holding euro, by telling you they hold Bitcoin and like giving you the offer of having a Bitcoin bank account, but the bank actually never holds Bitcoin. It just like hedges the volatility risk. We do the same, just in the other way around. So our banks are Bitcoin native, meaning they only hold Bitcoin, and then they can use these Bitcoins to cover the liabilities towards their customers, and in order to hedge the risk, there's a trading bot active going onto the market, and by trading future contracts, it can help to reduce the risk for the bank and can make sure the bank can always cover the liabilities.
Interesting. Yeah, it sounds quite complex, but I'm already, also with the other things that you mentioned, like it's also already quite interesting to hear that the traditional financial institutions are finding your organization to implement these kind of products that are linked to Bitcoin, that they are actually interested in implementing the Lightning Network and so forth. So, yeah.
I mean, look at the paper ECB just published a few months ago about the holy grail of payments. Everybody's looking for a global payment network which can settle instantly, and Lightning is a very, very promising solution right now, and this is why a lot of financial institutions are looking into this solution.
You mean the paper of the European Central Bank, right?
Yes, correct.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah, wonderful. I'm really going to thank you for this conversation, Daniel. Also, rock on with all the great work that you're doing in development countries like El Salvador. Many thanks for joining us from Munich, and I hope to see you at one of our next events.
Thank you for the invitation, Jan.
Have a great day.